Okay, for the video, okay, so click on Mountain of Doom. Okay, so like I said, guys, this is about Mount Everest. Um, okay, just a few vocab words. Preserves. Okay, so preserves keeps something in its original condition. My grandmother often preserves fruits and vegetables by canning them. Okay. Gruesome. I'm sure you guys have all heard that word. Causing horror. Cameron thought the movie was too gruesome. Okay, as an example. Summit. The top of a mountain. Okay, when the climbers reached the summit, they were amazed by the view. Okay, looks like I can just click right here. Crippled. Okay, made unable to walk or move normally. After running the marathon, Joe was crippled by muscle cramps and had to see his doctor. Expedition, a journey by a group of people for a specific purpose. We went on an expedition to see ancient ruins in the middle of the desert. Okay, so that's the vocab. I'm going to have this read aloud. Okay, I want you guys should be able to kind of follow along as it's read aloud. Okay.
Hey, Action Readers. This is Anna, and I'm an editor on Action. I'm so excited that we're doing a story about Mount Everest because I'm kind of obsessed with it. I hope you find it as fascinating as I do. Mountain of Doom. Extreme cold. Cliffs of ice. Air so thin you can barely breathe. There are many ways to die on Mount Everest. So why do people want to climb it? By Todd Olson. Would you dare to climb Mount Everest, the world's highest peak? The wind howls. Blinding snowstorms appear out of nowhere. Temperatures drop to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. But nothing is as creepy as the dead bodies. You might see them right next to the main route. Sometimes the wind uncovers a pile of bones under the snow. Often, the cold preserves the bodies whole. They lie exactly where they died. For 20 years, a man from India lay curled up near a cave. Climbers named him Green Boots for his colorful footwear. The bodies are gruesome, but they don't keep climbers away. More people are climbing Mount Everest than ever before. Their goal is to stand on top of the world and live to tell the story. Many ways to die. Everest is part of the Himalayan mountain range. It rises above Central Asia on the border between China and Nepal. Its summit stands 29,029 feet above sea level. That's nearly 6 miles high. The Sherpa people of Nepal call the mountain the goddess of the sky. People have been climbing Everest for almost 100 years. For most of that time, only a few people succeeded. This year, about 900 climbers reached the top. 11 never made it home. There are plenty of ways to die while climbing Everest. People have been crippled by frostbite. They've tumbled down 5,000-foot slopes of ice, and they've been buried in avalanches. That's when snow, rocks, and ice slide down steep mountain slopes without warning. But on Everest, the biggest danger is the air itself. As you climb, it gets thinner. That means that every breath contains less oxygen than it does at sea level. Most climbers breathe bottled oxygen near the top of the mountain. But even then, they gasp for air after every step. They have trouble thinking clearly. Above 26,000 feet, the danger is so great it's called the death zone. There is so little oxygen that no one can survive for long. Summit fever. The dangers on Everest force climbers to make tough choices. Some pay as much as $130,000 to make the trip. They've dreamed about reaching the top for years. Suppose they feel sick as they near the summit. Do they turn around or keep going? Every year, some people make the wrong choice. They want so badly to reach the top that they ignore the dangers. Climbers call this summit fever, and it can be deadly. And what if someone else needs help? In 2006, the British climber David Sharp grew too weak to climb. He huddled in a cave inside the death zone. At least 40 climbers passed him. Some stopped, but no one tried to help him down. They barely had the strength to make it down themselves. Sharp died alone, high on the slopes of the mountain. Why climb? Over the years, more than 300 climbers have died on Everest. And that has made people wonder, if the climb is so dangerous, why do it? Climbers answer that question in many different ways. Everest is a challenge that forces you to be tough and brave. It's a story to tell your kids and your grandkids. It's an accomplishment that others will respect. To some people, the risk is the point. Life is short, after all. If you live life trying to avoid death, then you are dead already, says American climber Alan Arnett. Now that you know about the risks, it's time to make your choice. Would you prefer a comfortable walk at sea level or a journey to the top of the world? I climbed Mount Everest. At 13, Malavath Porna became the youngest girl to ever climb the world's highest mountain. We talked to her about what it was like to stand on top of the world. Did you always want to climb mountains? Not at all. I grew up in a small village in India. I always loved sports, but I never tried mountain climbing. Then, in 9th grade, I went to a rock climbing camp for poor children. The people in charge of the camp saw how tough we were. They decided to send 2 of us to climb Mount Everest to inspire kids everywhere. How did you prepare to climb? We worked out every day for 8 months. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I needed to be strong enough to carry up to 55 pounds of gear. I had to learn how to walk in deep snow and climb walls of ice. And I still had to keep up with my schoolwork. What was the scariest moment on your journey? At the beginning, we got bad news. 16 people had been killed in an avalanche on the mountain. My coach gave us the option to go home, but I could see my goal above me. I could not turn back. How long did it take? The expedition took 52 days up and back. Near the top, I tried to remember my parents, teachers, and friends. They were waiting for me at home. I had to keep going. And when I reached the top, I was so happy. I felt confident that I could do anything.
Okay, guys. So the question, the thing that I want you guys to write about this week is, would you prefer a comfortable walk at sea level, or a journey to the top of the world? Okay. It's kind of an interesting topic. I think many of us are up for challenges. We're up for making ourselves better. However, is it worth the risk? Is it truly worth the risk? For me, not really, because I don't. That risk, I don't like heights. Like this right here would almost just kill me in itself. This guy climbing across this ladder, across this kind of big, this cave almost. I wouldn't do well with that at all. I'm also not a huge fan of freezing cold. However, there are things that I'm passionate about that I would like to do. I would love to go fish in waters that people have never fished before. That would be a rush to me, to be able to go, fly into some very, very remote place and be able to fish. And I think that would be really cool. That would be my idea of a rush. Some people love rock climbing. If you were to make it to the peak of Everest, you could probably go and speak to people. You could probably be a motivational speaker and talk to people about your journey. Talk to kids and schools and businesses, things like that. You could probably write a book. There would be a lot of ways you could benefit from that. Um, anyway, kind of interesting thoughts. Okay, and I will have a link for you to write, your 5 paragraph essay. If you would prefer to, do it as a risk, would you like to do it, or are you more the type that you would rather be on a beach somewhere, kind of hanging out and enjoying life? Or are there other things like I talked about? Are there other risks that you would be willing to take, but it might not be Everest? And maybe it is Everest. Maybe you would like that challenge. So we'll leave that up for you in your writing. All right, guys. Thanks so much.